Time has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank our witnesses for being here today. I want to follow up on a line of questioning that my colleague, Mr. Bishop, was asking, because my experience as a prosecutor of transnational criminal organizations makes it pretty clear to me that these organizations need some mechanism to maintain their power and their authority. And Mr. Blazakis, when you were in your opening testimony, you talk a fair bit about that mechanism being assault weapons. And I believe you say, based on your research, which I've also seen, that approximately 70 to 90% of guns found by Mexican authorities during criminal investigations are linked back to the United States. Are you aware of how many legitimate gun stores there are in Mexico?
I'm unaware, no.
One.
It's very little.
One. So there are nearly 500,000 guns that go across the border from the United States to Mexico illegally, as you point out. And Mr. Urban, I'm grateful for your service in the DEA, with whom I worked with many of your colleagues. What impact do you think that the cartels having access to assault weapons and other weapons of war has on their ability to control the border, to control human smuggling, to control the opioid and fentanyl trade?
Well, certainly the access of weapons by the cartels, it's a paramilitary organization. Many of their former members are former members of the Mexican military, enables them to impose themselves in violence throughout the country and to determine how they want to smuggle drugs across the border. So the weapons obviously facilitate that.
Right, and without those weapons of war to maintain that control at the border, is it your experience, or based on your experience, would you believe that the Mexican government, with support from the United States and other countries, would be able to curtail the authority and power of the cartels?
Is it concerns just weapons, or in general, a joint partnership or relationship to target the cartels?
I'm trying to understand the impact of this influx of assault weapons from the United States to Mexico, especially to the cartels, how that impacts the Mexican government's ability to crack down on the cartels as well.
Sure, them being well armed makes it difficult to control them.
And would you say, and I'll turn to Ms. Ford Maldonado, the executive order signed by the president in 2021 lays out, Executive Order 14060 in December 2021 lays out objectives and mechanisms to fight these cartels and to fight the fentanyl trafficking. What's your sense of how that has been implemented, and whether that has had a material impact on the cartels across the border?
I think, unfortunately, the situation that we're seeing at the border is only getting worse and worse. And so something new needs to happen, and we need to address the new problems that we're facing. And I believe that every option should be on the table to fight these cartels, because they're not a small threat anymore. I think they're the largest criminal threat to the United States right now, and I think we should have every option on the table. Right now, we have a very strong, robust military, and they're employed in different missions around the world, which is honestly necessary. But our governance is threatened because we're not using the full force and weight of the United States to protect our own border and fight those that are coming in and basically declaring war against Americans. And so we should be...
Well, I do think that, one of the things that we are talking about here, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'm about out of time, To the extent that my colleagues on the other side talk a lot about the control that the cartels have over the fentanyl trade, over human smuggling, we have to look at this outflow of American-made guns to the Mexican cartels, which give them the control at the border and the power to oversee these trafficking networks. And with that, I yield back.